It is 101. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans general manager John Robinson joined the Buck Rising show yesterday, was asked about the possibility of extending head coach Mike Vrabel's contract in this offseason. Here's what J-Rob had to say.
Through some things on that, that's kind of that's club business and utmost confidence in Mike. I know Mike loves being there and we love Mike being there. No doubt that, we'll get all that figured out.
Mike Vrabel and the rest of his staff currently in Las Vegas to coach the AFC in the Pro Bowl, which will happen on Sunday. Some major news in Tennessee high school football. Alcoa High School head coach Gary Rankin has retired. He is the state's all-time winningest coach, won 4 state championships with Riverdale High School in the 90s. Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh will reportedly remain in Ann Arbor. As ESPN reports, Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell has emerged as the favorite to become the next coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Harbaugh reportedly did not receive an offer before he left his interview in Minnesota yesterday. College hoops happening in Music City tonight. The Belmont Bruins are at Tennessee State in OVC play. That is a 7:30 tip-off. And Lipscomb in action at home, hosting Stetson at Allen Arena at 7:15. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday to you. Hopefully you're having a great day out there. Got a big show planned. John Brice is going to join us. It's one of the weirdest times in coaching history. And Blaine and I were talking about this when we sat down. Normally we ask John Brice a lot of college questions, but he's with CoachingSearch.com, so we can certainly hit him with a bunch of topics. Or FootballScoop.com. I want to make sure.
CoachingSearch.com.
CoachingSearch.com is also a website where they do coaching stuff, or they used to, if that still exists. FootballScoop.com. I was talking to somebody about Coaching Search this morning. I knew I would mess that up for Brice. FootballScoop.com. But Blaine and I were sitting here talking about this, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on. But on National Signing Day, the head coach of Michigan flew to Minnesota and interviewed for a job for 9 hours that he didn't get.
For the Vikings, yeah.
For the Vikings. For 9 hours that he didn't get. So, of course, the joke with I can't credit everybody who put it out was he should have just gone to like some high school gymnasium with a Michigan hat and a Vikings hat and put one on since it was signing day, like announced that way. And we're going to have Doug Mathews in hour number 2 of the show. If you could go back in time to Doug Mathews, like, let's get in a time capsule. Let's go back to 1985. And I'm going to tell you that in 2022, the head coach of Michigan on signing day flies to Minnesota and interviews with the Vikings. Would you believe that was real? I'm going to ask him that question. Because he's going to have to say, are you blankety blank kidding me? And I know it's not the same because the early signing period, I get all that.
It's changed, right?
But if you were the coach of another team in that conference or anywhere that recruits against Michigan, wouldn't you say, do you really want to play with that guy who's going to leave the first chance he get? He tried to leave this year.
Well, to his credit, he did tell all the recruits. I think he only lost 2 of those guys. So you got to he was honest. He said, hey, if I get an opportunity, at the National Football League, I may take that. And that's why you make the decision of the school and not necessarily the coach. Easier said than done, to be honest. But because a lot of tentacles could have changed if he would have taken that Vikings job. And I don't know why he didn't take it. If you're there 9 hours, you had to be pretty close. It might have been one glitch over whatever it may. Let's just say if it was salary, because he did take a pay cut there with Michigan from $8 to $4 million and then took him to the Final Four. And he goes, hey, maybe he wants them to, hey, well, let's come back to the $6 million range. And maybe they're saying, nope, we're not flinching.
Right.
We'll go in a different direction. So, but I was sitting here talking about it because I said, what jobs in the world can you have one job and then go interview for another? And if you don't get that job, with them knowing, by the way, the caveat, and then you can just go back and say, you know what, I just take this job. I like this job. I like this job. Coaching is just incredible because it's only so many jobs and so many guys that are elite and really good, and they have that kind of power and cachet, which is really weird to me, because, I would have been sitting there, I'm going to say they're an organization. Michigan is that big. They're an organization. You go, well, man, I don't care if you're an alumni here. If you go and interview the job, guess what? You don't want to be here. I'm already moving on. I'm gonna have to let you go. We're gonna let you go no more pay. We just stop today, and we're going to hire somebody else. You're not going to have us beholden to you because you want to go coach in the NFL. Well, that can change. Guess what? Next year it could happen. The year after. So guess what? Let's cut our ties now. That's kind of how I would be. And I would probably be more of a hard, fast, GM or
Oh, you've established
administrator.
That. Oh,
yeah.
you straight line
because
AD,
I would have a list of guys that I'm ready to move on for, because at some point the coaches become emboldened in power and they actually run the university, and I can't have a guy who doesn't know how to handle that appropriately. I would probably be the same way if I'm an NFL GM. Remember I was like, well, how long is, Vrabel's contract? And he's like, oh, I don't know. We don't know. Why didn't we ever know his numbers and what he was making? He's no different than a player. Why don't we know? Oh, he has 1 year left. Well, guess what? We're going to play this out. Tannehill got 1 year left. Henry has 1 year left in my mind. I may, as a GM, I might have to run this and see where we go with it. Because it could go good. Then I give you a nice little extension before maybe halfway through the season. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I wait and all of a sudden it goes to crap. And guess what? If I wait, now there's a risk you could lose him. I already got to have my punch list ready to rock and roll. You had your punch list when Malarkey was here. Mm-hmm. You were ready to rock and roll. You definitely have one to move forward, because you don't know if this thing can cannibalize. Nobody knows if you will be good again next year.
Right.
You can't assume. Some guys could get injured. Some guys could not be as good as they were before. So all those things have to play in it to the coach. So I just kind of play by the same rules, just as though if I get a player. I think you can get another good head coach. Or do you say, I'm going to reinvent this whole deal? I think we need to throw it around the yard, and I'm going to go get one of these big-time coordinators or maybe even a college head coach that throws it around the yard, and it's exciting. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to come and watch us put up points, see if it can happen. It's just kind of how it, because if not, then now you're beholden to the coach, and he basically has you by the you-know-what, and then you have no power from a GM or a university standpoint. You never want to get to that point. I mean, all I'll do is watch the James Franklin deal. And I go, man, somebody just whispered, hey, man, we interested in you. What, million raise? Hey, man, we interested in James Franklin. What, a raise? I'm like, dang, man, is he making $10 million? Like, wow, that's a lot of clout. For actually, go look at his record. I don't even think he has a winning record the last 2 seasons. And you gave him a raise. Huh? What can you do in this world that you get a raise because you failed?
Because somebody else got one.
Nah. So I don't play by. I wouldn't be playing by those same rules. I'll probably be fired, but that's kind of how I would be playing it.
On that note, Michigan reportedly elated to have Harbaugh back.
Right.
Yeah. So the opposite of what you're saying.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I would have, as soon as he went for the interview, we got to move forward. Because they had to already start thinking about where they're going. They were talking about they're going to hire the assistant offensive coordinator, the running backs coach. There was rumors that Matt Rule was going to take the job all the way from Carolina. So they had started putting their ducks together, and I would have been like, let's move forward, because guess what? The same thing's going to happen if he has success again. Another NFL team or teams will may be interested in him. So he's trying to get out to get to the NFL. That's what you do know.
He might have peaked this year anyway.
Right. That's why he was trying to capitalize on. That's what Mickey was saying.
100%, I think. And there's so many openings this year, and he didn't get any of them. And I've been around him some. His dad was the coach at Western Kentucky. Once upon a time, I was a TV anchor in Bowling Green. I spent a lot of time around Harbaugh. I like him. Mm-hmm. He's a quirky dude, but I anytime I talk about him, I spent, I don't know, a year and a half around him quite a bit. I like the guy. But here's the thing.
Yeah, I do too, by the way.
Yeah.
Actually, we text back and forth, and he's always about onward.
Yeah.
That's Michigan's little stick. I should text him today and say onward and see what he would say. I think he would have a little sense of humor.
But the amazing thing is, this is open and notorious. He got on a plane and flew on signing day, and everybody knew. Why didn't I just be like, I got to go and pick up my dry cleaning?
That is weird. When he had some big deal 3 or 4 years ago on signing day and did this whole big shindig,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden now you're not even present. Now, to their credit, though, they had already had all their guys signed, I think, a couple months ago. So.
Yep.
But still, that's a special day. Kind of signing days kind of changed, too, by the way. I'm interested to see what Coach Doug Mathews says about that. It's kind of not as big as it used to be. It seems like that way. What would you say, Lucas? Does signing day feel as big as it used to?
No, it's not even close.
Did you used to say you were sick on signing day so you could stay home?
That was the one day, in high school, where that's the only time I ever actually convinced my mom that I was sick, because I was never really able to, was on National Signing Day.
You had signing fever, 5-star fever.
Yeah. But nowadays, if you're trying to convince your mom you're sick for signing day in February now, what's the point? You're going to see maybe 3 major prospects.
They announced 3 preferred walk-ons and,
yeah.
A guy who just got named a 3-star.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Heupel didn't even have a press conference yesterday, right? At least to my knowledge. If he did, I didn't see anything.
Does that bother you? For what that used to mean, that it literally doesn't mean anything now. I know it's a big deal when people have the early signing days.
No. Do you think he didn't have it for a reason? Let's go down that road. The head coach didn't have something for signing day. Most coaches are.
Yeah, I mean, Jimbo had one. Jimbo went on a big old
He didn't have one because there is no big light here about the signing day for them.
It was one 3-star
guy. You have to answer a whole
Yep.
bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And then people are going to say, which has been the knock on Heupel, is can he get it done in recruiting? As I'm sure Lucas knows, he's followed UT, and that has been the only knock against him.
Yeah, he exceeded expectations this year, but that doesn't, the trajectory is good, but it doesn't mean anything going forward about him being able to compete with Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, because that's a whole new stratosphere that Tennessee, despite having a good class outside the top 10, that's a whole different stratosphere that they haven't been able to reach.
He exceeded expectations this year?
Yeah, I think on the recruiting trail, I'd say he did.
Who's their top 3 recruits that they signed?
James Pierce was a big one, the edge rusher that, a few services on 3 recently made him a 5-star prospect. I know Justin Williams, the running back, I believe out of Georgia, 4-star that was teetering on signing day.
Yeah, I think he was a West Virginia commit.
A couple big-time defensive linemen. So Tennessee got more guys that maybe would have been 50-50 than not on the early signing period in December. He exceeded expectations, but there's still a massive gap between Tennessee and the top 3 classes in the country, which all happen to be in the SEC.
I don't know about that one. I'm going to dig a little
16 according to the 24/7 rankings.
Exceeded expectations. That's a reach for me. I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper on that one, Lucas.
And they are, on 24/7's rankings, they're number 7 in the SEC.
Right. That's the thing. You can get a top 15 class and be middle of the pack in your conference.
In this conference, it's absolute bananas, the level. I mean, think about that. Hey, we're 16th in the nation. That's awesome. Where are you in your conference? 7.
You're in the SEC. It's relative to, as Lucas just said. I'm trying to figure out, besides Pierce, the running backs, you can get running backs anywhere. So I just think he's solid. I mean, he's going to be good. He's going to be in the rotation. So I just don't know impactful players immediately that are going to be new and young. In the trenches, that takes a minute here in the SEC.
Yeah.
Whether what side of the ball you're on, especially if you're getting, middle of the road talent as far as SEC out of high school. So it's going to be interesting to watch. One thing I can say about Heupel is that I think he did a great job with Pruitt players in developing them. Pruitt did a good job of recruiting, just not developing them. Mm-hmm. I think this staff does a better job of development, and we'll see how much they can do in recruiting and as quickly as you can develop. So to me, the true test now is just imagine if Hooker and Tillman left, which were Pruitt guys, they would be in a world of hurt right now because offense leads the way for them. Yeah, they would be, you'd be like, ooh, I hope we can be, the middle of the road again.
Hey, man, Hooker coming back.
Velas Jones, too. I mean, but the guys, I think recruiting is going to come into play here, and they're going to have to get some higher-level players. And maybe they get them from the portal, which they haven't really gotten into quite yet. They may be waiting until after spring, and then they can get some elite players, SEC-proven type guys. I think it's going to be interesting to see how well they do.
We are aware that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Williamson County property owner. That's not lost. We'll certainly get to that at some point today during the show.
Aaron Rodgers is buying property?
That's what they say. Wilco.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I found out saying, he's flipping property.
Maybe so.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's an investor.
I mean, he is not. That does not mean that he's coming. Doesn't mean that he is or he isn't coming, but, I mean, the house won't be built for another year, right?
Let me just say this. If we were living in Buffalo and he bought a house in Buffalo, hey, man, we'd lead the show with that. Like, we're throwing a parade.
Well, you got Josh Allen, so I don't know if you'd be leading the show.
Well, I'm just saying, just pick a city that's not Nashville. Sorry, Buffalo. You're a good place. You got good people. But if he moved to
Carolina,
if he moved to Seattle, if he moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, it'd be like, say what?
First of all, you can live anywhere you want to live. Doesn't guarantee
It,
anything.
and there have
live
been
in multiple places.
And there have been many
he's had
times
houses in California
where Blaine and me are talking about some player, and Blaine's like, "Oh, I know that guy," and I'm like, "How do you know him?" He's like, "He lives here."
Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody talks about it, but that guy lives here. There's a lot of that guys that live here. All right, we'll get to that coming up, but let's get to John Brice next. It's Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. John Brice set to join us here any moment now. Looks like Lucas is talking to him.
In the meantime, Mr. Chat, I love looking at this chat here. Zach Bunch, you are absolutely wrong. Hooker was recruited by the Pruitt staff. Hypo had nothing to do. You know who Hypo recruited? Maybe you're getting confused. Oh, Mr. Milton. Wasn't his name Milton, right? From Michigan. Hooker was there with Pruitt and those crew. He recruited them. He came in there after maybe he was fired, but that is their guy, and he committed to them. So sorry there, buddy.
Talking to Zach in his own TV chat, by the way. You can always give us feedback there if you want, or on
that's correct, right, Lucas?
Our Twitter at Blaine and Mickey.
I didn't catch that. I was
that Hooker was recruited by Pruitt staff.
Yes, through the transfer portal. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
John Brice was recruited by us for this segment.
Nice.
JB, how in the world are you doing? I know you're in South Bend, so we got rain pouring down. It may ice later. What kind of white death winter situation are you dealing with right now?
Yeah, we've got about 11 inches of snow on the ground. And, that's the truth. And the last time I checked the feels like temperature, feels like 5 degrees. So now I see that it has warmed up to feels like 7. So that's where we are today in beautiful, picturesque South Bend, Indiana. So my wife and I did get around we did go over to campus and do some hiking around Notre Dame, and it's always beautiful, but it is especially beautiful with snow blanketing the Golden Dome and the ground, and so it was a nice, peaceful walk across campus in some frigid weather.
John Brice walking through the frigid streets of South Bend, Indiana. Let's start with this. What do you think is the end game with the Brian Flores lawsuit? John Brice of FootballScoop, our guest. What's the end game? Like, what's the best thing that could happen as a result of all this?
Well, I think the best thing is that all the process are closely examined and reevaluated, and I believe in organizations being able to hire who they determine is going to be the best person for the job, but it shouldn't be predetermined. And I think all of us have probably been in some situations where we've wondered if a job interview didn't already have somebody else in mind. Certainly I can't relate to what Brian Flores went through in any way, shape, or form. But I think, he's saying if it means he doesn't get to coach anymore and he's passionate about coaching again and wants to coach again, he's willing to make himself be the guy out there who potentially sacrifices his coaching career in order to shed greater light on this, and be it the interview process that he just went through with the Giants, and the text messages that he shared that he says are from Bill Belichick, to the anecdotal situation of dealing with Dolphins owner Stephen Ross and whatever comes of that. Those are very, very serious issues. I'm not sure which one would be most serious for the NFL, but both are egregious, serious issues for the NFL. So I think Brian Flores is putting himself out there saying he believes so very strongly in this that he's taking an absolute stand and hoping that it will benefit his coaching and scouting and front office brethren.
Do you think he coaches in the NFL again?
I absolutely do. Do I know if he will be a head coach again? I'm not sure, but I absolutely believe he will coach in the NFL again. He's too good of a coach, and I think that's the organizations that get it right, they don't care about anything but how good you are as a coach and how much you can help them win.
At John D. Brice 1, that's where you can follow him on Twitter, or anywhere where you consume FootballScoop. John Brice, our guest.
Well, JB, I guess tell us a little bit about what's going on here at Auburn with his staff. He's lost his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator, Brian Harsin. Is it him, or is it just guys just not good fits and they're moving on? Because this seems like this is going down a bad trail here with coaches leaving.
Yeah, it's a bizarre situation, Blaine, and we've got to remember that a year ago Tracy Rocker got there, and then left almost immediately. And then back in the fall, I think it was Cornelius Williams, I believe that's his name, but the wide receivers coach that was fired like 3 weeks into the season. And then you have Mike Bobo, and they separate, and that was clear that Brian Harsin wanted to go a different direction. But then you hire a guy who determines he's not a fit for you after just a very few weeks, and he very abruptly leaves in just a bizarre situation. And I think Derek Mason had made it clear that he believed he needed a change of scenery. And I still think Derek Mason may end up having NFL opportunities before it's all said and done. But it's a troubling situation, in my opinion, because this is year one going into year two, not part of a brand new transition. So you expect a lot of this stuff. I think, quite frankly, when you're going from a transition of a guy who'd been a veteran coach for you in Gus Malzahn to a guy in Brian Harsin who had never coached on this side of the country but had had great success at Boise. So you expect a lot of this in the early going, but it just seems so bizarre. And I honestly think it's probably more emblematic of what's going on at Auburn as a whole than it is any individual fault with Brian Harsin or any other individual. I don't think there was consensus when it came down. I know there was not consensus when it came time to fire Gus Malzahn 13 months ago or 14 months ago, and there wasn't consensus on the decision to hire Brian Harsin. There were a lot of people who had say in that process of trying to find Gus Malzahn's replacement. Not only did they go after Brent Venables, but they went after Tony Elliott. Of course, both were coordinators at Clemson at the time. They tried to go after Billy Napier. He interviewed. He withdrew his name from consideration because he didn't get a good vibe about things. And I don't think it remotely all stems on athletics director Alan Green, because Alan Green is very well regarded in the athletics administration industry and is an incredibly bright guy. I just think Auburn has a lot of issues that would probably be more clear or have more attention on them if Auburn was in a larger media market.
No doubt about it. We went with John Brice with Football Scoop. I guess kind of explain us. I saw Jimbo Fisher and Bama and Saban and everybody talking about these NIL deals. And I guess, I don't know, some people are trying to accuse that they're paying them money, but isn't that what NIL is? I mean, just kind of explain to us, how that's changing college football. And maybe some regulations maybe need to be put in, or limitations on, or policies for the NIL deals.
Yeah, and there's a lot of allegations out there right now, and there's a lot of hearsay, and you hear enough of it, and I use the term you generically, so it could be me or whomever, hear enough of it about other coaches, so it's going on, but it's also on some levels, I'm sure, being exaggerated. I still stick by what Deion Sanders said several weeks ago when he said there are people out there paying these NIL deals for guys that have never played a snap of college football, that haven't set foot on a college campus. And he was like, if that's the case, I don't see that you cannot possibly justify your return on investment. And I tend to agree with that. Now, look, Deion's son, Shador, just got a deal with Gatorade last week or the first of this week. It all runs together. But I think that's great. Grambling University is announcing more deals for all of its student athletes coming down the pike from a NIL standpoint. But you are going to see more coaches complaining about wanting some guardrails on it, because it's not supposed to be able to have deals arranged in order to get a kid to sign with schools. But whatever size the deals are, those are definitely happening right now. You're definitely having guys that are getting deals guaranteed to them before they sign with the school. And there's various loopholes. Some people maybe don't even care about the loopholes. Some schools are saying like, oh, well, we can't guarantee you this deal, wink, wink, nod, nod. But our last running back just signed a $100,000 deal with Company Y, and we don't see any reason why you couldn't also get a $100,000 deal with Company Y, wink, wink, nod, nod. So that's kind of what people are complaining about. I think a fair amount of it is being exaggerated in terms of the true dollar figures, but there's some big money, absolutely big six-figure deals floating around out there. And look, I had a college coach tell me within the last month, he just said, Bryce, a kid that maybe you needed to find $30,000 for a year ago to help him out in some way, shape, or form come to your program probably now needs a $100,000 NIL deal to come to your program. And his point was, these are not 4- and 5-star prospects either. These are guys that are core program guys that now are expecting to be paid. And so I think that's kind of where we're at. But it's right now an almost impossible situation to govern and legislate because it is so nebulous and it is so subjective and open to so much interpretation. And frankly, the NCAA has never been more toothless.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I guess one more for me, and that is, talk a little bit about what your thoughts are on a 2022 class in recruiting for Tennessee, and also the strategy behind all these walk-ons, getting signed for National Signing Day. Is an NIL deal, I guess, in the works for these guys, or something that we don't know, because these are quality players. These guys, some of them had offers from other Power 5 schools, by the way, too, as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are Tennessee natives, so you wonder how some of the lottery-based education funding comes into play there. So maybe they're being preferred walk-ons, but they're still getting their school paid for. I don't think there's necessarily a bunch of guaranteed NIL deals out there to get guys to come to a place and become a preferred walk-on. Again, like Tennessee got 3 significant preferred walk-ons, but they're all Tennessee natives who are coming home, so to speak. Michigan got some preferred walk-ons yesterday and earlier this week as well, just among other places out there that were able to do that. And I think that even maybe Alabama or Auburn, and I know Georgia got a preferred walk-on for Stetson Bennett's brother. So you're seeing a little bit more of the preferred walk-on, especially in states where there's maybe a chance to have some state funding that pays for your college education. In terms of Tennessee's 2022 class, they did a really nice job in December of closing strong when they didn't think they were necessarily going to. And we'll see how that plays out. I think Tennessee football has tried to be pretty progressive and aggressive with name and image likeness opportunities for people. And they're working with the Spire group there in Knoxville. And I think that's having an early impact and will continue to have a greater impact because of some of the people involved with that. And Tennessee is still trying to balance its scholarship numbers from a standpoint of dealing with the NCAA and the ongoing investigation under the Jeremy Pruitt regime. And so I think Tennessee has positioned itself to say, hey, we've taken some penalties here. We've cut out some recruiting stuff. We've not played with a full roster last year. We're still not at a full 85 right now. We've kind of done all that we need to do. Focus your additional punitive measures on Jeremy Pruitt and kind of let our program move forward. And I think that's Tennessee's mindset.
We're on with John Brice with Football Scoop.
So, JB, I'm interested now because you got people who are saying, well, it's hypocritical, and Lane Kiffin talking about what akin to a salary cap and that kind of thing for NIL. And Jimbo, super defensive yesterday. Here's the thing. There's always been haves and have-nots, and this has even taken the haves to the highest of level of who has these unbelievable NIL deals. I don't know why anybody wouldn't just lean into it right now. I don't know what you'd fight back about or deny. I don't know why you wouldn't say, heck yeah, this is the place to get paid.
Yeah, and Jimbo made the point that Bryce Young talked about, or that Nick Saban, even before the season started, talked about Bryce Young getting around $1 million NIL deal. I had another college football official tell me that ultimately 67 Alabama football players from this past year's Alabama roster had NIL deals. 67 players for more than $3 million. According to a college football official with direct knowledge. So, yeah, lean into it. It's that era that we're in. Lane says a lot of stuff because Lane knows he's going to get a reaction. And look, if I know Lane is going to be on ESPN like he was 2 days ago, we're going to be on ESPN to hear Lane because it's good for business and it's certainly entertaining for college football. So you've got a lot of people who are talking about it. I haven't heard anyone present a very viable, sensible solution for this. And until we hear that, you're going to find more people scared of legislating it than scared of not legislating it, because they fear repercussions in the form of lawsuits, and they fear people thinking about things being unfairly prohibited. Now, the one thing I will say, in talking with some college football administrative level sources in the last couple of weeks, is that after some of the meetings in Indianapolis of the executive level of athletics directors across college athletics, there's talk about the model is moving towards making these student athletes employees of their respective institutions, and what are going to be the ramifications of that. And so I think that could be what we see coming as a part of the evolution of trying to get name and image likeness under control and kind of dispel this Wild West aura that surrounds it right now. And it sounds like one of the potential solutions is having the scholarship student athletes become employees of the school.
Oh, well, I mean, if something like that happens, you start talking about like different levels of insurance and all this other kind of stuff, benefit-wise.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It raises a whole additional level of certainly restrictions and requirements and obligations.
Oh, okay, man.
Taxes.
Yeah, Blaine just said taxes. I mean, once you start getting issued tax forms, with a W in front of them, then that's going to be real interesting to see what happens. You're going to have some staff accountants then.
Yeah. Now, my wife's a CPA. I joked with her that she should sharpen her resume and send it to every major college football program in the country right now, and we would go to the highest bidder. But, the fact of the matter is, anybody signing an NIL deal now is still being issued tax documentation.
Sure.
He or she is still receiving a 1099, and so then that person is having to pay self-employment taxes and personal income taxes as an individual contractor. So those things are already being issued right now. But yes, then it becomes paying Social Security, paying FICA, paying Medicare, all of that. That's what the next level becomes if college athletes become some sort of employees of the schools.
Man, John Brice just breaking it all down here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, I guess real quick before you let you go, Kevin Steele is now the DC at the U. How big a get is that when I think he committed to Maryland initially?
He was working there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had committed to Maryland and had shown up there. I talked with some people at Maryland earlier this week. Actually, I just got a text message from somebody there earlier this week that just said Kevin Steele ! And then we just sort of laughed about it because that person had been familiar with the Kevin Steele saga at the University of Tennessee a year ago. So it's a good get for Mario and for the Hurricanes. And Kevin Steele has always recruited South Florida very well and recruited the South well. And so we already saw Mario's impact in that regard. I think Miami had the number one class of all the major programs in the state of Florida for 2022, and he obviously had less time than just about anybody to make that happen. So I think that already signals the direction that Mario will go in recruiting. But Kevin Steele has been a proven, very fine defensive coordinator. I'm still envious of the fact that he got paid around $900,000 last year from the University of Tennessee not to work. I will sign a contract with anybody that wants to pay me $900,000 not to work.
Yeah, some will say that I've done that here. Yeah.
Yeah, good hire. Good hire for Miami and Mario. They still got to nail down the offensive side of things. They kicked several tires in that regard and haven't landed on one consensus choice at this time.
Brice, fantastic stuff, man. People need to follow you at John D. Brice 1 anywhere they want to read up on Football Scoop stuff. Thank you, man. Appreciate the time, buddy. Enjoy the snow. Yeah, I appreciate it, boys. I'll tweet a photo at you so that you can see what we're dealing with here in the Bend. All right, just some nice Notre Dame scenery in the background. That'd be my only request. That we can see. Yeah. That's happening right now, I promise. As soon as take care. Yes. John Brice tweeting us some South Bend, Indiana stuff. We'll be retweeting that from Blaine and Mickey, too. All right. We got a poll question out. All this talk about, You got a quarterback buying land, Aaron Rodgers in Middle Tennessee and all this stuff. So a bunch of you are just like willing to throw away the checkbook. So we have a question out on Blaine and Mickey. How many years of losing records would you be willing to trade for your team to go all in, trade their draft assets, spend all their cap money? How many years would you be willing to lose after that? That question is up at Blaine and Mickey. Phone lines open 615-737 and a quarterback. 615-737-1045. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone rolling through a Thursday. I just see water everywhere in the sky. It's raining like crazy out there. I looked outside. It looked like a wall of water hitting the radio station. Yeah. We're under the water here. Be careful if you're out driving around in this. Be careful what you wish for, because a lot of people are. So the news comes out yesterday. Jared Stillman, local radio guy, he comes out and he says, hey, man, somebody told me Aaron Rodgers is moving here. Well, then I guess somebody told you earlier Brent Doherty had said something.
Oh, yeah. He said something, I think, last week.
That our own Brent Doherty had said this, and we just hadn't picked up on it. So now A to Z Sports, they confirmed it, and some of Aaron Rodgers' old teammates, they're going to move here too. And so people are like, yeah, just throw away whatever it takes, all the money in the world. So Blaine and I were talking. I said, I just wonder, you go all in, Aaron Rodgers or anybody who comes here at the end of their career, maybe they play 1 year. Maybe they play 2, like the Bucs got 2 years out of Tom Brady, but they got a Super Bowl. Now they got cap problems. Now who's the quarterback?
They didn't have to do a bunch of trade and everything else.
They didn't have to.
It wasn't heavy.
But like the Rams,
they went all in.
They traded first rounders, more than one second rounders, third rounders.
Von Miller this year. They kept going.
They just went all in. How many years would you be willing to lose? So let's say the team said, screw it. Aaron Rodgers, get your house built in Brentwood and come on up here, and we're going to eat a $40 million cap hit for you and eat all of Tannehill's dead cap and trade him away. And we'll just be eating and cleaning up this mess. We're going to trade 2 first-rounders for you. So, yeah, we're just going all in. How many years would you be willing to lose after that?
You mean to suck?
Yes, suck. To go 6 and whatever, or 5 and whatever, or 4 and whatever. It's 17 games now, so just subtract that from 17.
Exactly.
That's that many games.
I don't know. That's tough for me being a competitor, just to put all your chips. Just if we're using the scenario of the Titans, which they probably would have more of a cap hit if you're talking about Tannehill's contract and after trading him and then adding Aaron Rodgers, who's going to want $40 million a year.
And he's at the last year of his contract, so he's going to want at least another year on his deal, if not 2 more.
Well, okay, and I'll say this then: the fans need to get comfortable with that. Probably Lawan won't be on the team, Saffold, naturally Tannehill, and a possibility of even the King. So then you have to replace all those players.
Harold Landry, how are you going to pay him?
Yeah, I mean we can go down the list. So then you're going to have some average players around them. Maybe you still have some skilled guys to throw to, a la like kind of the Bengals. Average offensive line. I think, JR is a little bit better than their GM, so I think it'd be a little above average to go all in with your quarterback and see if you can get it done. Now, with that being said, he's sitting at home and he's available. Russell Wilson's sitting at home available. There has to be a lot of breaks that you have to get throughout the season, and especially in the playoffs and the football gods, to be in the right situation to let it take you all the way. Look, Tom Brady did it. That's one example. Guess what? He's the greatest of all time. The other players are not. They are great players in their own right. They're Hall of Fame players. I just don't think they bring the caveat of, I want to play for Tom Brady. I don't think a lot of people, I'm gonna go play with Aaron Rodgers. I just don't think he has the same cachet as Tom Brady. Not that he's not a better talent. It's just that Tom Brady acts like a normal dude. He's the dude of dudes. I mean, you can have a general conversation. He's not an elitist. He's just a common guy who's a blue-collar guy who's risen to stardom. So I wouldn't do it if it was me. As if I was the GM, I wouldn't do it. Not with that situation now. If Tannehill was a free agent, as though we're saying 2 years ago or whatever it was, 3 years ago, and I wanted Tom Brady at that time over Tannehill. That was the only, it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
That was the only thing that would make me go outside of Tannehill, because I think Tannehill is above average, and if for you to go all in, they have to be proven and better, which Aaron Rodgers is, but you're going to lose some things along the way, which is really going to put you right back where you are. To me, I just can't do it. Risk everything knowing nothing is guaranteed and that may not even make the playoffs. With a lot of pieces around Aaron Rodgers being a little bit different. So I couldn't do it. I know a lot of fans would do it. But there's no, I wish you could say in team sports that would guarantee us we know we're going to the Super Bowl. Nah, I'll take that risk, and I'll ride with Tanny for one more year. Then I can escape that contract.
Well,
keep it moving.
The clubhouse leader right now is people would be willing to lose 1 to 2 years. So here's the question. Would you be willing to lose none? Yeah, I don't want a losing record. I'm not willing to do it. Would you have a sucky team for 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4 years, or 5 or more? You would be shocked at how many people are answering 5 or more years.
I'm not
where
shocked.
they would
I thought
trade
that
a
was gonna
Super
win.
Bowl. Yeah, this is saying you're going to win.
But that's why I keep saying there's no guarantee that you're going to the Super Bowl. There's no guarantee you're going to the playoffs.
All right.
And oh, by the way, we have some, what do you call it? I guess footage, or for all our listening ears that can hear it, of Vrabel is actually, we'll let you listen to it next segment here when we come back from break, is good friends with yours truly, this building house here, Aaron Rodgers. And we have it on record. We'll let you listen to that on your way back on the other side.
That's true. Also, we will go to the phones because you guys are on the line. You want to talk about this, so we will go to the phones as soon as we come back. We'll start hour number 2 with the phones. Also, the Coach Doug Mathews is going to join us with all the latest from Tennessee, signing period, latest on the transfer portal, all that stuff. We'll get to all that coming up. But your calls and how long would you be willing to suck to win a Super Bowl? Blaine and Mickey.
It is 2:03. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans general manager John Robinson made an appearance on the Buck Rising show yesterday. Was asked about the confidence he has in starting quarterback Ryan Tannehill going into 2022.
Yeah, Ryan's our quarterback. I think he's made a lot of plays for us. He's a great leader. He's extremely tough. He's thrown some really good passes. I mean, he certainly had some that he'd probably like to have back. No different than any other position.
You can catch that interview on the Zone Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts. Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh reportedly will remain in Ann Arbor. ESPN reports Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell has emerged as the favorite to become the next head coach in Minnesota. Harbaugh reportedly did not receive an offer before he left his interview with the Vikings yesterday. More developments in the NFL's top story this week. A former Dolphins head coach, Brian Flores, suing the NFL and 3 teams, alleging racial discrimination in the hiring processes of the Giants and Broncos, and is firing from the Dolphins last month. Both Dolphins owner Stephen Ross and Broncos owner John Elway responded to the allegations made by Flores using words like false and defamatory. Flores reportedly is still a finalist for the head coaching job for the Houston Texans. College hoops tonight in Music City. Belmont is at Tennessee State in OVC play. That is a 7:30 tip-off. And Lipscomb in action at Allen Arena hosting Stetson at 7:15. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thank you, 104.5 The Zone. As the song says, wow! It's Thursday afternoon. It's practically the weekend, so you've made it. I mean, tomorrow's Friday. Friday's a mere formality on the way to the weekend. Hopefully you're having a great day. So this has been a crazy week. You got Brian Flores suing the NFL and teams. You get the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, retiring, and then you got the report. Apparently, our own Brent Doherty was talking about it. Jared Stillman, who's a radio host across town, he's talking about Aaron Rodgers moving here, and he's buying property. And some other Packers, Randall Cobb, A to Z Sports reported, and
Clay Matthews
has got the magical hair that they're going to move here too. And so that's certainly a big topic. And Blaine and I talk about this all the time. And for the longest time, I lived in Nashville and I worked in Nashville, but I didn't necessarily work in radio. I was part-time, did different things. And
real estate.
And I was oddly enough, in the real estate world for 13 years. But my thing is, let's talk about what everybody's talking about. So let's try to find the best angle maybe to talk about. But, I can remember standing in the kitchen at Cry-Like and standing at the coffee pot or the water, cooler, and everybody talking about stuff like this on a day like this. So there's a lot of discussion, and it basically brought up this. No matter what, he's living here, so do a bunch of people. Like, Nashville's the kind of place where it's great to be a super famous person to live, and that's what super famous people have told me that we've interviewed. It's like, I can go to the grocery store, nobody bothers me. I can go to a ball game, nobody bothers me. I can go get my cup of coffee, nobody bothers me. A lot of people look just think they can't hear me on the YouTube feed, which maybe that's a good thing. But
yeah, I'm like, what are they talking about?
So that's okay. They're just
as long as I can hear you, I think you're good.
As long as Blaine can hear me, I'm fine. But if you say, okay, he's moving here and he's, let's just make this happen. Well, there are all these financial ramifications. He's still under contract in Green Bay in the case of Aaron Rodgers. So it's like, what are you willing to trade? And we've used this question about the Rams because they've traded away first-round picks for years, second-round picks, a third-round pick. So there's a chance they could be bad when this is all over. So we asked the question, how long would you be willing basically to suck if the Titans or your team, whoever they are, traded away all their draft capital, but they won the Super Bowl? Like, how long are you willing to be bad? We've had some people who were holding. Let's hit this Mark Spain real estate hotline, and then we got a little audio that adds to the chat coming up.
Say one, so what we know we can't predict the future, so I could at least say go to the
Super Bowl. We'll even say that.
Yeah, go to the Super Bowl.
Let's try that. Dawson in Nashville, first up in the second hour of the show on the Mark Spain real estate hotline. What's up, Dawson?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Dalton the Match Daddy Jones out of Nashville. I'm actually on my way to Memphis right now, so driving through the rain is a fun time. But
Be safe.
I will say, being in Nashville now, I do enjoy the Titans. I do. But lifelong fan, actually, of the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
So, in that regard, they've been to the Super Bowl 4 times. We've never had a win. So, in my personal opinion, I would give up 10 years to suck if it meant that we were guaranteed a Super Bowl. But obviously, I know we can't guarantee a Super Bowl. So, just even getting to the Super Bowl, I would give up 10-plus years probably, just so we can finally tell the Packers fans to shut up.
Wow. Dawson, thank you, man. Be careful on the road. That's a brutal drive between here and Memphis.
Oh, man. 10 years. Wow, to suck. Also that means the organization is going to lose money in that they won't have as many people going to the games if your team isn't successful to a certain extent. So some people won't, buy tickets. So you got to look at the whole big picture of it all. And I know fans don't have to worry about that, but you lose money in other areas that you don't normally naturally, you got the TV contract. But I mean, people showing up and then the game's not looking as appealing on TV because there's not, maybe it's half full and scattered throughout on the third level.
Derek says, if we can win the Super Bowl and keep King Henry, I would be willing to suck for 3 years.
Oh, 3? Okay. I could take that one.
One more phone call. Then we'll play you something that Blaine found from Pat McAfee and a former teammate of Aaron Rodgers, A.J. Hawk. But first, Steve in Franklin. What's going on, Steve?
Hey, guys. Love the show. Hey,
Thank you.
I want to make a point. There's only one quarterback in the past 20-some-odd years that will guarantee us a Super Bowl, and he just retired.
Thank you.
It's Aaron Rodgers is amazing. He's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the league for 17 years. He's been starting for 14 years. He's had some great teams, and he's been able to get them one Super Bowl. It's no guarantee. We could go get him, and it would be the same as with Ryan Tannehill. Ryan's looked great. I think he's our quarterback. There are no guarantees. Blaine, I'm sure you remember this well. I went back and watched the Music City Miracle, the whole game, not too long ago. It's on YouTube. And Steve McNair had one of the worst games of his career. We needed that miracle because Steve had a really bad game, and our whole offense did. And Blaine, you guys kept us in it. And so, even the greatest of quarterbacks, even Aaron McNair, who's I think, the greatest quarterback we've had to this point, couldn't win us that Super Bowl. It's not a guarantee. And so this Aaron Rodgers stuff is just ridiculous to me. And as far as how long we're willing to suck to win a Super Bowl, my God, haven't we sucked long enough?
Whoa. Not the last 4 years, right? We've been pretty solid here, man. Ray Boy JR. Right? We had to throw that zinger in there. But, they've done pretty well the last 3 years. But, yeah, he hit it right on the head for me. I can't do it. I can't. There's no guarantee. Has Aaron Rodgers only been to one Super Bowl? Or has he been to 2 and just only won
he's
one?
Only been to one. Brett Favre went to 2 and won one. A-Rod won. He's 1 for 1. Only one. Yeah.
Tough. Just think how well they've done in the regular season, 13-3 under LaFleur.
Oh, he's going to win the MVP again.
Yeah. And so he's
going to win MVP again.
I bet he would trade in his MVP for a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, but you're right. Win. Mm-hmm. Let's trade this in. So Blaine, perusing the internet in a commercial break, found Pat McAfee and A.J. Hawk, who is the former teammate of Aaron Rodgers, talking about this very thing, a potential relocation for him to Nashville and some more stuff. And just get ready to hit the dump button because I think they were saying some dirty words.
If Aaron has any land down in Nashville, I don't think he got the land with any intention of thinking about football. It has nothing to do with football, I believe, if he has anything to
please put that on
football.
Please put that on the ticket.
Okay.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
So is he building an Immunize Center then? Or
that doesn't mean it can't, though. That doesn't mean all of a sudden, say he goes down there, he's like, oh, this is cool. I like Nashville. Live music. Hey, Braves, why don't you call the Pack, work out a trade for me? That could happen.
So hold on. Put that on the ticker as well, although it is raw land, whatever that means.
But then, actually, I think he might retire, too. So put that on the ticker as well.
What do you know? You don't know anything except for a little bit, and we got to kind of piece together about what
I don't even know a little bit. No, I don't know.
No, you do. You just said
raw land.
You just said
raw land.
I don't jump at dumb stories where people think like they put him in locations instantly. Like, oh, here it is. This is happening.
That's AJ Hawk.
Yeah, I don't know if it was in there, but he also said that Aaron Rodgers and Vrabel were good friends.
Yes.
He did say that. I was like, whoa, that was info that was like, what? That made me think there's always a possibility. He said they're good friends. Hey, man. I'm your guy.
Go play some golf?
Is there any way we can make this happen?
Hey, I got some raw land. They don't know what that is.
And if he called him and said, hey, man, I got Tannehill, I think it would be an answer like Tom Brady answered about whoever he was talking about when he was like, that dude. And that, yeah, man. So just don't know who you don't know.
Lucas, is this AJ Hawk on the line or AJ Brown, or is this another AJ?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Let's just take it, and then we'll get to Doug Mathews. AJ in Nashville. AJ, is this AJ Hawk, AJ Brown? Who we got here?
No, this ain't them. This ain't them. This is regular AJ. Hey, look, I'm kind of down with the Titans, man. You know, I've been rocking with the Titans since y'all got here, you know, from Liberty Stadium all the way to Vanderbilt, all the way to when they opened up was the Jefferson Coliseum. I wasn't too happy with Ryan Tannehill's performance. You know, it was a good game, but what he did, it makes you question a lot of things from Miami to here. And if it is an opportunity to somehow grab Aaron Rodgers, what would it take for the Titans to try to at least trade Tannehill or to do something to try to upgrade at that level? Because you got so many pieces, you don't want to have a team with all these pieces, and then y'all always fall short of your goal. And I just want to hang up and listen.
Don't want to have a lot of pieces and fall short of your goal. Well, I mean, every year, 31 teams essentially fall short of the goal of winning the Super Bowl.
How many times the Titans been in the Super Bowl?
Once. You were there.
But that's what I'm saying.
How much of it do you remember? Sorry. I love you. You know that. I'm sorry. But sometimes you bring that up.
Knowing I got knocked out in that game.
I'm sorry.
Third quarter there, man.
That wasn't shots fired.
No, I know. I was just laughing because that was just me. That was funny to me, too.
I'm sorry.
I remember the game actually. But that's what I'm saying. Is that hard to get there?
Yeah.
Is what I was really referencing. We only been there one time as the Titans. The Oilers' history hadn't been there at all.
Yep.
As Super Bowl time. So this is tough for me for the grasp. I mean, it's to go all in and then for it to work for the Rams. All I think about is that's the one time that it's worked here in modern time, and if they don't win it, I think this still will be unsuccessful season because they got there with golf. The whole point of making all these moves, especially the quarterback move, was to get there and win it.
Yep.
So I think they have all the pressure, and it'll still be unsuccessful. And if it didn't work, Jim and Coach, probably everybody's out of there if it didn't work. So I'm interested to see how they look at this because they got a lot of things to fix after this season. But, hey, they made it work. It made it happen. But a lot of things went their way. We could say Stafford all played great and everything else, but he made some bad throws, too. Just imagine if the guy got the interception there for San Francisco that he dropped. What was it, Tart is his name?
Jaquiski Tart.
Yeah. See, so then everybody would be bagging on him, and his career would be totally different. He can't win the big game. All those narratives would be out there. Instead, they got a break. He dropped it. He had two left hands like me. It's okay.
We're going to use both of our hands to make this commercial work here, I guess. I'm trying to transition to Doug Mathews because he'll join us next to talk all things UT, signing day, signing class for Heupel, and more. And we'll ask him some other college football questions. It's coming up next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Doug Mathews will join us in just a minute, but we've kind of rabbit-holed a little bit down this Aaron Rodgers talk, and how long would you be willing, if your team went all in, would you be willing to lose after that for a year or two or more? And you guys are weighing in on this in different fashions. Craig in Brentwood wants to weigh in next on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. What's going on, Craig?
Hey, man, I got a good hot take for you guys on this Aaron Rodgers thing.
Steamy,
yes. If Aaron Rodgers buying dirt in Brentwood means he's coming to replace Tannehill, then that means Alvin Kamara is coming to replace King Henry because he bought dirt in the same subdivision. That's my hot take for you guys.
Ooh, that's some good dirt over there, man.
That's some rich dirt over there. That's what that is.
Some nice dirt.
Yes, and who is this right here? They said TB12 was also Vrabel's friend. Yeah,
that's true.
Was.
And a couple of years ago, apparently that was a possibility that was
I don't
not
think
pursued.
Vrabel got on his knees and prayed long enough to get him. Yeah, that's why I added the prayer part. To get TB12 to because they had to wait, I think, another week for Tom Brady to make the decision. They were afraid they were going to lose Tannehill because he had that extra week of free agency, I think, or to make the decision. So he would have got on the market and might have not got either one of them. I think that's how it went, something like that.
What's the bird in the hand? You know, you got something guaranteed. You hold on to it. Doug Mathews will be on here with us in just a second. National Signing Day. Yesterday, one signee for the Vols, essentially, Cameron Douglas, a defensive lineman. There was an announcement earlier in the week about some walk-ons and a long snapper that they signed out of Memphis, who's actually like the number 3 long snapper in the country. So a little bit of traction, but most of the action with Josh Heupel came certainly earlier in the earlier signing period. Lucas, have we got Coach yet? Is he ready to jump on? Lucas is monitoring the situation here. We'll have Coach in just a second.
We can read some of these, I guess.
Oh, we're good. All right, we got Coach Doug Mathews on with us. Coach, let's start with this. So a real thing that happened was Jim Harbaugh flew to Minnesota and interviewed with the Vikings on National Signing Day. If we could go back to 1985 and pull you out of a meeting and say, hey, we're from the future, you don't know us yet, but in 2022 on signing day, a head coach of Michigan is going to fly to another state and interview for another job, and everybody will know about it. Would you have believed that?
Well, you know what? It sounds a lot worse than it was. I would have, at that time, it had been Bo Schembechler doing it, so no, I wouldn't have believed it, matter of fact. But anyway, you know, one thing on that, I don't know that he didn't do it maybe to get a little publicity for Michigan. I don't think he ever intended to go. And fact of the matter is they had very few signees left to sign.
Yeah.
They had such a good early. But, yeah, it was a little surprising. You know what? It got him a heck of a lot more publicity than almost anybody but Jimbo Fisher.
Oh, boy. All right.
Wait. Well, let's change this around this question. I'm going to tweak it a little bit. Imagine Tennessee's coach went and interviewed for the L.A. Chargers job. What would have happened on social media? Now this is a different question.
Yeah, a little bit different. You're right. One thing that Harbaugh has going for him, you know, his athletic director is a former teammate of his at Michigan, so he probably had pretty good relationship with him. And Harbaugh, quite frankly, is one of the big reasons he got the job. But without his approval, I don't think he would have got it. But it was unusual. You're right. It was.
So because of the nature of how signing works now and most of the work getting done for the early period, the Vols did sign Cameron Douglas, a defensive lineman. That was the main bit of action that's happened this week. What do you know about that young man?
I don't know much about him at all. They had the young man out of I believe they signed also out of New Jersey, defensive end, I did see him. He's a 6'6", about 260 kid. That's you know what I like to refer to as a soaker. He's going to have to soak there for a year or two, but probably have an opportunity to be a pretty good player. But I don't know much about the other youngster. As a matter of fact, I didn't. I looked this morning. I didn't even see where they'd signed him. But I guess Tennessee, 20 or 21 high school freshmen, or freshmen will be coming in from high school. Great base. This is an era of certainly transfer portal players, but transfer portal is a lot like junior college players. You really, if you have to take very many of them, it's going to hurt you in the long run. Tennessee had hurt them a little bit last year because they had to take they took 13 transfers last year. This year it looks like they're only going to take 2 or 3, at least going into the summer. And you can't build a program with transfer portal and or junior college. You have to build your program. You can build a year, but you have to build your program with with freshmen, and that number needs to be somewhere around 20, 21, 19, somewhere in that area.
Coach Doug Mathews, our guest as he is in this segment each and every week, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. On average, a DUI can set you back $10,000. It can also cost you your life. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, just like Coach Doug Mathews on this show.
Well, Coach, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know if I've asked you this ever before. Maybe it was during the season, and that is, are we coming to, if you know of, any resolution on this faking the injuries and, trying to stop the clock and slow some of these offenses down like Tennessee's? Are we still kind of nowhere with this? Are you hearing any talk behind the scenes about that they're trying to work on something that they can do to at least mitigate or maybe level the playing field on that whole issue?
Blaine, absolutely. I don't have any doubt that there will be legislation that will be in place before the season starts next year. Just a little backstory on this. I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, the NCAA put in that you could only change a on-the-field playing rule every 2 years, unless it had something to do with player safety. So this year, 2022, was a year in which it was the even number of years. So it was the year that you could make changes. So this was the year it was going to get made. They'll absolutely do something there. I think there's discussion on exactly how to do it. There's really no, if you just sit back and look at it, and kind of common sense would tell you that it's going to be very difficult to do unless a conference. I think it's going to be extremely difficult to do during a game. The only thing that I think is going to be able to work, and I think a lot of coaches feel this way too, is if they do something after a game. In other words, going back and looking at tape, which is pretty easy to see if a coach is sitting over there calling for it. Pretty easy to see if a player is faking it. But during a game, this is what all the officials, of course, I have Tom Ritter on my show during football season. And Tom was not only one of the top referees in the SEC, he also was a commissioner of the Gulf South Conference, and he was the head of the replay when the first replay booth started going. And, he just said plain simple, he said, Doug, there's not an official out there that's going to overrule a kid saying he's injured. Because if they do, they're either going to, and are wrong, they're either going to get fired or sued. So all that talk about, holding him out of series and doing this, that sounds good, but hey, coaches are smart enough. If I'm going to slow the game down, I'm not going to have my All-American defensive tackle fake an injury. I'm going to have a third-teamer that I put in there and tell him to fake an injury. So it's going to be difficult. I still believe, and I'm in a very, very small minority on this, but I don't. My looking at it, if I was still coaching, would be this from a defensive side of the ball. Why does the offense get to decide when they can snap the football? Football is really the only team game that you play where you only play one way, offense or defense. If you want to talk about player safety, which is the big topic that we've talked about so much the last decade, are you telling me that you think it's safe for a 300-pound defensive lineman to be in there for 8, 10, 12 plays running full speed? So now that's not going to go anywhere, I don't think. But it's going to be very difficult for him to regulate this, quite frankly. I mean, what happens if a kid is injured and it's overruled, or if they put in a rule to do that, you know, what happens? Well, the NCAA is in bad shape, and they're in bad shape anyway now. So, but to answer your question, I went a long way to answer it. There will be something in place by the time football season starts next year. No doubt about that. They talked about it in length at the National Convention back in January. It will be in place. I don't know how soon, but they don't really need it until next fall anyway.
Well, with Coach Doug Mathews, and you kind of hinted on about it earlier when you first came on, and that is, you know, Jimbo Fisher, you know, talking about, you know, paying players, NIL deals and everything else. I want to look at it from this perspective. What do you think are the biggest concerns as a student athlete, not take it out of the hands of the coaches and everything else, that they can run down these rabbit holes, you know, for these NIL deals and maybe doesn't come to fruition? So what are your concerns, just not just they're not policies yet, you know, formed out, but from a student athlete, what should they be looking out for in the same time?
Blaine, this is one thing I always like to say, too. You know, I hear when some people say, well, that's a coach's perspective or that's a player's perspective. Well, I don't know many coaches at all that weren't players at one time. So, you know, even though your employment might be as a coach, you also were a player at some point. Now, albeit in my case, it was a long time ago. But I think there's a couple of concerns here from a player's perspective. We all know that there are going to be certain players in certain programs that are going to get big bucks. They're going to get up around that $1 million a year mark. I've tried to answer this question for myself. What if I was a player that was contributing every bit as much, at least playing time, as one of those players?
Yep.
And what if I wasn't getting any money or little money? Would it bother me? I think it would.
Yep.
I think it would. So that would be one concern. But I think the biggest concern is that they have to be very, very careful. Now that they are making money, they are going to be they're going to have to pay taxes on it. They're going to have to make sure everything is on the up and up. Now, there's people that can do that for them. But if you're not making a whole lot of money and you got people that you're having to pay to handle all that and you're paying taxes on it, I think that's going to be a bigger headache. Heck, it's still a headache for me, and I've been having to pay taxes for quite a while, many years now. But I think that's one concern there. I also think that there's going to be I do think this, and I thought it was a good rule. I think players should be able to make money. It was when I was playing ball. We didn't do anything in the summer as long as we were academically eligible. We went home and got a job. Or I stayed in Nashville a couple of years and worked for the old Yellow Transit, Yellow Freight, you know, to make money. They no longer do that. Players are there 11 months out of the year. Now, they're going to school and getting a little stipend, getting a little bit more education, and getting a little more of their hours. But I think it was a good deal. But the whole thing behind this, and I think that what's going to be revisited on this, is that it was meant to be players being able to use their name, image, likeness at the university or at the program school that they were attending, not being used to be able to get them an inducement to come or get an inducement to leave. Now, obviously, that's where we are now. It's all up in the air. Quite frankly, I like what Jimbo Fisher said. Now, I don't know if he's being 100% honest or not, but I like what he said on that. And, you know, just one final thing on that, guys, and unless you want to pursue it a little bit further. When I was coaching, there's always rumors, there's always talk about programs that cheat, that buy players. I found that much of the time, the programs that were accusing others of cheating did it, at least assistant coaches did it because they were losing a player, and sometimes that's just an excuse to do it. But here's what I would say on that. All these head coaches, believe me, they know if someone is buying a player that they're recruiting, they know about it. Well, why not just say who it is? You know, if it really bothers you, just say, hey, so-and-so, Coach so-and-so, they bought this player. But you don't ever hear that. You always hear the innuendo. You always hear, well, you know, they did this or did that. And I at least like Jimbo Fisher. What he essentially did, without really saying it, he pretty much called Nick Saban out on Nick Saban's comments. And listen, Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban are extremely close, but that is at least that's the way I took it. He talked a little bit about Alabama, and so I was glad to hear him do that. I wish more head coaches would say that.
With the coach, Coach Doug Mathews.
Coach, on the way out, I wanted to ask you this. All the hay is in the barn now for Heupel's 2022 class, it seems. Is there one guy that you can look back on and say, that's the fish that got away that maybe could have helped them the most or been the biggest in-state get or whatever? Is there one guy that stands out the most to you that got away?
Well, there's no question that he needed to, and I'm saying this with a little caveat. He needed to have a better year than he had in state. I think they ended up signing 2 players out of the state of Tennessee. That's not nearly enough. They may have added a third one in there. They got the young man here out of Riverdale. I would say probably, and some of this is for PR and others a need. The fact that they were not able to land Walter Nolan, who moved to Powell. When he moved to Powell, Tennessee, I don't know if you all know where Powell, Tennessee is, but it's probably a driver and a 3-wood from Neyland Stadium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's definitely in Tennessee's backyard. I just assumed when he moved there that maybe that was would portend something, but it was him. But if I had to choose just one, but the other part of it is they must get. And listen, Coach Heupel knows this better than I, or as well as I do. They got to get where they're signing 8, 10, 12 players from within the state of Tennessee if they're going to climb the mountain that they have to climb. Now, they can still do it without doing that, but it's going to be extremely more difficult. And this year was a good year in Middle Tennessee. It was a good year in Tennessee, the 2022 class, and they were unable to capitalize on that. There's a reason why. When he got there and his whole staff got there was nobody that really had recruited Middle Tennessee. Willie Martinez was the only one, and the fact of the matter is that he could not leave campus until November of this past year. And really, the 2022 class, the next class that you're assigned, you really need to be in on those young men as sophomores at the very earliest or latest, and freshmen at the very earliest. So I think there's reasons why. I do think he had a really good signing year, and as I mentioned earlier, bringing in 20, 21, 22 freshmen, whichever it is right there, is a really good number, and that tells me the program's getting more sound, because you must, I know I'm reiterating this, you must build a program with freshmen. You can't build it with transfers or junior college players. Simply can't do it. You can have a good year, but you can't build a program doing that.
Coach, thank you. Fantastic stuff as always. People catch you on Football Saturday and Big Orange Sunday for all of this and more. We appreciate the time today. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, Coach.
You bet.
Yes,
Talk
sir.
to you next week.
And Coach Doug Mathews, the best Tennessee highway safety office, making that happen. All right, when we come back, what percentage of Titans fans, or as it were, it's more of a generic question, pro football fans would be willing for their team to suck for 5 years or more after going all in for a championship, trading away assets, draft picks, you name it. You win the Super Bowl, but after that, you're going to be bad. You're going to be surprised by this number. Also, still got time for your phone call, 615-737-1045. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Lucas, busting out some 70s disco here, man.
Little boogie, oogie, oogie.
Yeah.
I love Lucas's versatility, though.
If I'm not mistaken, I think this won a Grammy Award, if I'm not mistaken.
I used to listen to this all the time.
Janice Marie, there was the bass player. They have a lady bass player in this band, Taste of Honey.
Taste of Honey.
Who's a fantastic bass player.
Oh, I have no idea. Mickey, you're good at that stuff.
70.
I was going to say, because my mom used to play this song all the time.
If you just put a gun to my head and said you have to pick a year, I would pick 77.
Oh, you're so close.
8.
It's 78.
Dang it. I knew it was 78.
Oh, that would have been a great call. That still was a great call, Mickey.
But they had a female guitarist and a female bass player in A Taste of Honey who were both really good.
Oh, 78, I was 2. Yeah, tough time.
I said that they won a Grammy. Can you finish the research on that, Lucas, and see if it won a Grammy? Maybe it did.
This song?
Yes.
You just won a Grammy for just barely missing on a year.
I knew it was set. He said, I said, at 78, I knew it.
He's mad he didn't get it.
I'm so mad that I didn't get that. I want to say that won a Grammy. I don't know if it was
They won the Grammy for Best New Artist in 79. Yes.
Okay.
They did, yeah.
Because of that song.
Yeah. Wow.
Come on.
Nah, I give you. You got the props, man. Yeah.
Pulling my Taste of Honey.
That was like a 360 dunk.
Trivia. Nobody can mess with me on
your trivia?
that 80s, 70s disco knowledge.
I be like Pat McAfee. Whoa, we got to get a segment.
Yes.
Quiz Mickey on music. That's because you can't quiz me because I have no idea who sings it. We must
put it in the summer notebook.
It has to be the music made before 1990.
We know it has to be a segment. I want to put it on like every Friday.
Okay, it has to be music before 1990.
I feel like you could do 90s music.
But if you start asking me, some I could. But if you start asking
we'll
me,
go old school. We'll gradually build your confidence up.
I mean,
we'll do the childhood stuff, the teenage stuff that's burned into your brain.
What's the segment name? That's what we need to think about. That how we will present.
Sponsored by Whataburger.
Ooh,
where are those rascals? Come on now.
Yeah. Haven't been there yet.
Yeah. You need to have a road trip up there.
Yeah, I got Mickey a Whataburger. He
got me a Whataburger sweatshirt with my name on it.
Yeah, for his B-Day. It had Mickey on the back.
But it was missized. You know how when a college football player puts on a jersey and it's skin tight, but somebody has to pull it off of him? My wife had to pull it off of me.
Yeah, well, he said he was medium, so.
But I'm more of an extra medium now.
Has the line died down
I think he'd been
there?
pumping the iron. It looked pretty cool, though, with Mickey's name on the back of it.
And it was the ugly Christmas sweater version with my name in the middle.
Whataburger all over.
That was magical.
Has the line died down over there, you think?
He posted it on the Instagram. I saw it.
Supposedly, you can walk in and eat. You just can't sit in the drive-through line. So if you got any intel on that, hit us with it. If you got intel on this. So we asked this question. There's I guess a multiply confirmed rumor that Aaron Rodgers would be moving to Nashville, or he was buying property in Middle Tennessee in Williamson County. It's been confirmed and chased down by Jared Stillman and A to Z Sports and Brent Doherty and others that it's in Brentwood. He's bought land.
Yeah. So has Randall Cobb, Clay Matthews, and Alvin Kamara.
Kamara. Well, we had somebody called in earlier and said, well, if you're just going to say he's buying land, then he's going to play for the Titans. Put Alvin Kamara there. We had a caller earlier who said that. So there you go. So we just asked this question. Obviously, it's a big topic. Will the Titans or won't they? Certainly seems like they're committed to Ryan Tannehill. But if they decided to go in a different direction and trade away a bunch of draft capital and players and everything else, a lot of times teams go through dark periods after this, and they suck for a while. So we ask, how many years of losing records would you be willing to trade for your team going all in, trading draft picks, et cetera, to win a Super Bowl? 17% say none. I don't want it. None. I'm not willing to lose to win the Super Bowl, which that surprised me that it was that many people.
Because they know there's no guarantee you're going to win a Super Bowl.
Maybe that's the sensible people. 28% said 1 to 2 years they're willing to suck. 29% said 3 to 4 years they're willing to suck. 26% said they'd suck for 5 or more years to win it in exchange for the Super Bowl.
Once in a lifetime deal. Man. Ooh, that's hard, man. I've been on some great teams, and, man, there was no doubt in my mind we were going to the Super Bowl and winning it.
I think the question.
My rookie year and then in 2000.
Yeah.
There was no doubt we were playing the Houston Royals versus Dallas Cowboys at the Super Bowl in 1994 and then in 2000. There's no doubt.
Didn't happen, though.
Yeah.
So you got to live with one thing, though. In the meantime and in between time and all the rest of the time.
Yeah.
3HL coming up next, but we're going to leave you with this.
Peace!